All right, again, tonight we're talking about mailbox baseball and how your neighborhood has a vandalism problem. And these young punks are going around and crushing mailboxes with a 33-inch Louisville Slugger. And, they're not being cool at all. So we've talked a little bit about what are some of the things that we can do to, act on this risk, and what can we do? What would you guys recommend? So, give me an example of each of these. Somebody give me an example of risk avoidance. Let's start with risk avoidance. Nobody? All right. Well, let me just show you here. So, for me, risk avoidance would be if this is your mailbox right here. Okay. And somebody takes a big old Louisville Slugger to it and pops it. It's gone. This is risk avoidance right here. You don't go up to Home Depot and replace it. You decide to just leave it down, or maybe you, if it hasn't been, um, crushed already, maybe you go out there and remove it. So you avoid the risk completely. I mean, it's kind of a caveman approach to taking care of this risk assessment, and but risk avoidance involves identifying a risk and making the decision to not engage any longer in the actions associated with that risk. In that particular case, as naive as that approach is, you know what? That would work. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, what about let's go down to risk deterrence. So, deterrence gives us uh, the concept of you're going to hit me and I'm going to hit you back 10 times as hard. It involves understanding something about the person who's doing that, and then letting them know that, hey, what you're doing is not cool, and um, you know from now on I'm going to be doing something to show you. Well, the first thing that usually you'll see is something like a sign get put up, and the sign could say warning up top here, and then show a little video camera right here. And basically, the video camera is now something that says this property is protected by video surveillance. Prosecutors will be shot, or prosecutors will be prosecuted, or whatever your state allows. Uh, so that would be risk deterrence. I know ADT publishes reports, and consider the source here that they may be negatively skewed, the reports, but they say that if you have an ADT sign in front of your house, that you are 80% less likely than someone who does not have that ADT sign to have something bad done to that house by somebody looking to do bad things. 80%, that's a huge number. So that's risk deterrence. If we wanted to talk about one of the next uh, topics here, risk mitigation, sometimes we hear it called risk reduction. You can still um, get hurt some way, like the mailbox could, something could happen, but you've done something to try to reduce the impact it'll have. Um, in this particular case, a risk mitigation, for instance, could be instead of having that old, wooden pole, what we could do is we could go up to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a ton of bricks and then create a nice little brick mailbox post around our mailbox. And then that way, when the Louisville Slugger comes out at midnight and Johnny is wanting to have a little bit of fun, um, he takes a crack at that brick, and hey, you know what? You didn't completely eliminate the risk, but you've done a pretty good job at mitigating it here, because that bat is going to probably wring his hands pretty good when he hits it, when he hits that brick with all of his force going 30 miles an hour in the car. So that's a risk mitigation strategy. It's kind of interesting, but I'm sure that you guys have done stuff like that. And for the IT world, a lot of times we'll actually do something like the Microsoft Security Baseline Analyzer, or Microsoft also makes a Microsoft Security Assessment tool, which can identify risk for anything that's out there that's running a Microsoft product on it. So that's kind of neat for free. When we talk about this next term here, the transference, uh, you actually would transfer the risk or offload some of the risk to another party. An example of that would be to now maybe you transfer the risk by opening up a PO box. You say, you know what, I'm going to just call the USPS up and I'm going to start forwarding all my stuff out to this PO box, and hey, now I've transferred the risk over to somebody who may not have mailboxes in my area that I have to go into the store to make that happen. So that would be a transference of risk, which is kind of a good concept to have. And that's really what it comes down to. So the last one that I'm going to talk about here is this risk assessments. And this acceptance is kind of a status quo approach. It's a do nothing approach. And really, that's the lamest, because that means that, hey, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and you're right, yeah, it could happen again, but I don't care. I'm not going to do anything. And that's the acceptance component, is that, hey, I've been presented the facts, or I know what the facts are, and I really don't care what's going to happen, so I'm accepting that risk. So for your exam, I would say that 100% this will be on the exam, and specifically these 5 that we just went over will be on the exam as well. So keep that in mind if you're going through and studying, making note cards. This is definitely something you want to pay attention to.